Hello, and welcome to Sit-In with the Lampshades. Priest Most High, S.I.W.T.L Lambew should be coming really soon. Wait a minute here. There we go. Just starting out here because, again, S.I.W.T.L Lambew should be, Priest Most High, S.I.W.T.L Lambew should be here momentarily. Welcome back to another podcast. And looking very forward. There was some technical issue that as this is still a very new technology for us, and we're just getting it perfected. Just getting this technology perfected, getting it ready to go, so that it's more smoother. But again, welcome everybody at home. Make sure to leave any comments. Make sure to have any questions or whatever available, so that we can get to them as early as possible and get them hashed out. Okay, we're gonna do some musical chairs here. Now I got my chair back. Okay. All right, yeah. All right, great. All right, here we go. Welcome to a sit-in with the Lampshades. I'm your host, Priest of the Most High, Sakuma Zingami Lambew. And I'm your host, Priest of the Most High, Lucifer D. Lambew. All right. We're still in the countdown of the sign for Great Tribulation, which is supposed to be the solar eclipse in 8/21/2017. And we're actually 5 days away from what is called in the world the Great American Eclipse. Make America great again, right? So you can see these Edomites have no understanding of eclipses, blood moons, and so forth and so on, right? As the Most High shows us in the book of Genesis, he makes us the moon and the stars, the sun and the moon and the stars for signs and seasons. All right. And so what sign is he showing? Is he showing a sign that letting America know that they're going to be great again after 400 years of holding the children of Israel? I know America itself has only been as America for like almost 200 years or something along those lines. Yeah. Before then, they were broken into colonies and so forth and so on under Britain rule, right? Just a little more American history that, brothers was forced to learn, right? But in our reality, the solar eclipse is not a sign that they're going to be great again. The solar eclipse is a sign of the Great Tribulation. In fact, it's not coming back again until 7 years later in 2024. So that ain't a coincidence, bruh. All right. The Most High put it in Lampshade Ministries' mouth, so to speak, the truth that this is indeed the sign for the 7-year Great Tribulation that's about to befall the earth, the whole world, right? And we know, or we have in our faith, that the Great Tribulation is going to have something to do with America. Whether it being started by America, starting at America, we have no idea at this point. But something that America is going to do or be involved in is going to be the beginning of the Great Tribulation. So we're really excited in a sense. I mean, obviously, no one's excited for Great Tribulation, but our faith in the Lord has been nurtured by the Lord, and by what He's been giving us our trials and our tribulations and so forth and so on. Our faith is in the Lord, and your faith should be in the Lord as well, because no matter what happens on August 21st, on or around August 21st of this year, your faith in the Lord has to be steady, all right? Because the Most High is moved by faith. He's not moved by proof. He knows everything already. If you're waiting for war to jump off with North Korea, if you're waiting for Yellowstone to explode on the 21st, or if you're waiting for a great earthquake or Planet Nibiru to show on the 21st, none of which we've said is going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. on or around August 21st. What we do know that the Most High has given us in faith is that the Great Tribulation will begin. What that looks like, I couldn't tell you. We've never seen a Great Tribulation. It's never been on earth as it's going to be, as it was written in the scriptures. All right. No time before in history, no time afterward will there be Great Tribulation like it's supposed to be during the Great 7-Year Tribulation. So we have no idea what that's going to look like. We have no idea whether it's going to start on the very day as the solar eclipse is crossing America, or whether it's going to happen a little bit before, or whether it's going to happen a little bit afterward. So just let you know, it's not like, oh, we're saying as the solar eclipse is crossing America, that's when Great Tribulation is going to happen. We're telling you that that's a sign of a Great Tribulation. When it actually takes an effect, obviously is on the Lord. Praise be. Yeah, we put our faith in the Lord though. Again, we don't put our faith in men. We don't put our faith in Trump. We don't put our faith in this country. We don't put our faith in anything else other than the Most High. Now, the reason why you ain't hearing this in other camps or whatever have you, because not saying anybody out, not pulling anybody out in name. Again, that's not how we do what we do. But it could be because people are invested in Babylon, whether they be invested in tithes and offerings of money, whether they be invested in wives and children, whether they be invested in businesses, whatever they have in Babylon, they become invested in. Like my own personal dad, he's an Israelite, but he's not a practicing Israelite, should I say. He's still in the deception of Christianity. But many a times, he's confessed to me that his investment in Babylon is some land that he bought. Right? I mean, just because you got land in Babylon don't mean that you want your blood to be spilled in Babylon. Fuck the land. As long as you're paying taxes on that land, it's not your land anyway, right? This whole country is the land of the Indians. Let's see if they can put that in for reimbursement. All right. So it's not about your land. It's not about what possessions you have in Babylon. It should be about the Most High, because the Most High let us know in the scriptures that this isn't our rest. We ain't supposed to be trying to rest in this bitch, man. We're supposed to be, coming back to Most High in spirit and in truth, and coming back to Him, and being led by Him, like He led us out of Egypt of old, to be led by Him coming out of America and going onto our own land. I mean, how long do you want to live under the rule of these Edomites who don't care about you, who in fact hate you and wish to try to destroy you, right? How long do you want to live under their wicked rule with gay and homosexuality, with transgender filth, with all these draconian laws that are cropping up, right? What's that one where you can they can now take American citizens on a suspicion of terrorism? Not even NDA, right? I mean, where you got no rights, no lawyer. I mean, they've been doing that to us from day one, but now it's gonna spread to all these other nationalities and peoples within America. And if you don't think it's possible, if you don't think it's gonna happen, right? You don't think it's gonna happen? Well, tell that to the Indians, right? They threw them. They took their land and threw them in concentration camps. They call reservations. Tell it to the Negroes. They brought them here in slave ships. Said that they gave us Emancipation Proclamation in the 1800s, and yet they were still killing us, lynching us with the KKK, who was a Christian organization who was working hand in hand with the government and the police to bring terror upon so-called Negroes in this country. Right? Tell that to the Mexicans, who they allowed to jump over the border, right? And then have them work for them for pennies on the dollar. And then once they get all the labor that they want, now they want to talk about deporting their ass back to their country after they've used them, and now they want to spit them out like garbage. This country is all about using for to little to nothing, not giving those in which you've used credit or acknowledgement for what they've done, and then spitting them out like used garbage. That's what this country is all about. It's what this country's always been about. What the so-called white man has built, this empire of wickedness and evil, all right? This abomination, so to speak. And now we're at the eve of the Great Tribulation is going to come upon the world because of America, or starting at America. Whatever the reason is, America has a chief position in it. Most deaf.
What if you're looking at the news? One of the things that is starting to really become more and more evident is the level of civil unrest that's starting to raise, specifically from the Charleston or the Virginia, whatever, protests where KKK, white supremacist, alt-right individual with a car drove down anti-Nazi KKK protesters.
That was in Charleston, yeah.
Yeah, Charleston, and a lady died.
Ooh, well, a white lady, right?
Yeah,
white lady, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it has anything to do with death is death.
Sure, but one of the things that's coming out of that, because these are just trigger events.
Yeah.
One of the things coming out of that is, of his own making, of course, Trump goes on TV and he ain't even supposed to be talking about this specifically. He was there for like a business forum or whatever, whatnot. And he just goes on a rant about how there was bad people or bad stuff on both sides.
Yeah.
And how basically there's two sides to every story.
Well, which makes sense generally,
except
those lefties be throwing some right crosses as well.
Sure, which of course it makes sense. Don't get to it. It makes sense, but he talks all day about how it's on both sides and how I mean everybody got a little piece of the blame.
Basically, they thought it was a big insensitive.
Yeah. Well, notice he didn't say nothing. He didn't spend 2 seconds to talk about the lady who actually died. And usually when something happens, there's a swell of sympathy for the person who lost their life, or you would think there would be. People really don't give a damn, but because the white woman, because of course
a young white woman, so much potential,
yeah. Because of that, and the fact that the eyes of the whole country was on this circumstantial situation, it was done.
He just looked like a big bully.
It was done ISIS style, supposedly, with ramming a car into civilians. And it really hurt the narrative of Americans being better than these raghead ISIS fighters.
But again, we know that's not the truth.
Of course not.
America is the ISIS fighters.
America is the terrorist.
Funds the ISIS fighters, creates Al Qaeda, now Nusra, and all these other Hamas and all these other raghead coalitions. So they can bring down Russian interests. They can bring down interests of other competing nations. I mean, this is just how they get down. I mean, yeah.
But of course, he didn't say two sentences of consolidation or
to the family,
or whatever, or to the 19 plus victims that they had as well. He didn't give a damn about any of that stuff. He just wanted to push the point that both sides were guilty or both sides had issues with it, so therefore you can't really blame anybody particularly.
Well, the truth is also that those anti-protesters of alt-right were not Trump supporters anyway, right?
Yeah, so
those motherfuckers was libtards who was angry that their
girl lost,
didn't win, even though her ass was no more than some sort of fucking actress playing her or clone or something. That wasn't the real Hillary Clinton. We all know that now. We've done videos about that. So I mean, these libtards, they're really just following after a ghost.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting. Clearly, he didn't give a shit.
Right.
Clearly, they were not Trump supporters anyway. This is the same guy during the campaign I was talking about, where he punching people.
He'd like to pay the doctor bills of somebody who punched out somebody.
I mean, that was not one of his supporters. I mean, so
of course we're putting in our own words.
Yeah, he didn't say that literally,
word for word, but
that was the tenor. Yeah. That was the tenor. Yeah. And he could have been joking, whatever, but it actually started happening in his rallies.
And these are the same libtards who was protesting his presidency like months after he had already won, man. I mean, so obviously, if you thinking Trump's gonna come in there with crocodile tears in his eyes for some libtards who, if they wasn't ran over, they'd be protesting him anyway. Then you tripping. I mean,
that's just obvious. This rich motherfucker can give a fuck. He could give a damn. Now, of course, it sucks that you're out there and you get ran over by car from the very people that you're out there to protest. I mean, don't get it twisted. That sucks. But for so-called Negroes that were out there, they should have been out there holding hand in hand with their white oppressors anyway. Esau's tripping. So no matter what side you're on, some crazy stuff may go down. Now, to make matters worse, he comes out with another impromptu speech about the same stuff. Where now, because of backlash he's getting from these different groups, which they were going to be giving him backlash anyway. And then the Never Trumpers, they're giving him backlash anyway. And the wiggy politicians who always look at and lick their finger and try to judge where the wind goes, they're going to give him backlash anyway. But nonetheless, they give him backlash. And rather than just ignoring it, he goes right at it. Unfortunately, though, he does so non-authentically. Right, he's reading a teleprompter.
So obvious now.
Yeah.
He's been reading teleprompters for quite some time now.
Yeah.
But obviously now it's so obvious he's reading a teleprompter.
Yeah.
He doesn't really mean what he says. He doesn't really believe what he's talking about.
Well, one of the criticisms was that he wasn't calling out the Nazis,
the KKK,
alt-right,
and
well,
all those,
he don't call it alt-right, but
all
the
those
KKK and basically the ones everybody pretty much agrees is pretty over the top. So he goes out and he calls them out individually by name. Of course, he didn't call them all right, but nonetheless, individually by name, right? Okay. And then that's it. And people still say he didn't go far enough with that.
Yeah.
Now, so David Duke goes on Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter rant.
And Twitter rant basically saying, remember who put you in the power, basically.
Look in the mirror.
Look in the mirror. I mean, he's really taking a pretty aggressive tone with the president, right?
Yeah.
So, President of the United States. So does the president, basically double down on the going against these groups? No, he doesn't.
He has to backtrack, right?
He backtracks
and says both sides again.
No. This time he backtracks and he goes against the left.
Of course, the ones
and the so-called Negroes, because both of them are
libtards.
Yeah, because they're talking about. He would start talking about bringing down the statues of the Confederacy or whatever not, and then he started and he just goes on a rant, and it just punches all American eye. He's like, hey, you gonna take down George Washington too? Who's next? George Washington? Like, you guys ain't gonna take him down? But he's a big owner of slaves, right? This guy's on national TV there. George Washington, the guy, he's on the north, he's not on the south now. He's on the north. He's the big promoter of the slaves. They start naming off people who were on the north side, that were big reporters of slave cities. They had a big old slave plantation. When is it going to end? You going to take down them too? And so it just basically took everybody talking about the Republicans as neo-Nazis and everything else, and then want to take down these Confederate symbols. Yeah. And now he's throwing in the North right along with the South, and basically basically punches all American eyes, saying, you know what, this country is a bunch of hypocrites, one way or the other. That's basically what he's saying. Yeah, and then this is truth too. That was true. Democrats and Republicans. Why are you with them? Either one.
We've been preaching from day one that whether they're on the left or whether they're on the right, they still devils, man. I mean, they're still the chosen children of the devil, man. You can't just take one against the other and think that as an Israelite, you can stand with one and that one's somehow gonna help you against a war with the other.
Yeah, the old adage. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Basically.
Yeah, but that's an adage from Edomites,
straight from hell.
This is that's some wicked.
But that's what they're obviously trying to do.
That's what they're obviously promoting. But the truth is, fuck the devil, man.
Of course,
I mean,
fuck them both.
Screw them, man. Do the hell with them. That's just real, man. Don't put your allegiance to either one of those motherfuckers. Come back to serving the Most High in spirit and in truth. Come back to coming together as Israelites. Come back to doing the will of the Lord with your life, man. That's what you should be coming back to. Putting your trust in one devil against the other devil. Putting your trust in the American government, who was founded on rape, robbery, and murder, and blood, and slavery and captivity, is a fallacy, man.
It's interesting though that the flack that he gets about that particular speech is the fact that he says that not talking about the Nazis and the KKK. He admitted those are deplorable people, but he said that if he was getting flat because he said that they were good people on both sides, right? But what they should have been given more attention to was the fact that he was equating both the North and the South with having slaves, and therefore neither one had the moral high ground to say anything about the other. That's really what they should have keyed on. But of course, America's running from those realizations.
Jacob's Trouble, welcome.
Hey, welcome, Jacob's Trouble.
Today's podcast, as you already know, we had a couple of technical issues. We actually opened up multiple podcasts at once, but this is actually the one that we're going with. The other podcasts that are on simultaneously, you guys can go ahead, just ignore them. We'll get rid of them later. Now, Jacob's Trouble had a question. It says the book of Obadiah says there will not be any remaining. That's a key word, Jacob. You got to make sure to keep that key word. It says remaining of the house of Esau. So how are they going to be wiped out plus be our slaves? Shalom. If you focus on the word remaining, it makes you realize that the Most High is talking about a process of time. Yeah, which ending in their ultimate being extinct, right?
They're going.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen in an instant.
Yeah.
The remaining means in the process of time, they will ultimately go extinct. How is that going to happen? Well, you also have to realize something too. You know, due to Isaiah chapter 14 verses 1 through 7, the Most High shows in the scriptures that when we get our land back, we get our rulership, we're going to rule over our oppressors, and we're going to persecute them who persecuted us, and no man shall hinder it. So for all those years, hundreds of years, thousands of years, whatever, that we are ruling over the so-called white man, the so-called white people, and ultimately before the Ancient of Days comes back, comes to the earth and creates a body for himself, right? And the whole world goes into eternity, right? Before that happens, the so-called Israelites, the kingdom of Jacob, is going to extinct the so-called white man, the so-called white people. Okay, but we ain't going to ultimately allow them to inherit the kingdom of heaven, right?
And we're seeing that on the micro, even right now, before it gets into the mass extinction. We're seeing it on the micro with the fact that the studies are coming out showing that Europeans have like half the sperm count they had before, that their birth rates are lower even than their death rates, and that with the micro crisis and everything else, they're being threatened to be eradicated in that way. Now, would it be instant? No, but it's just showing on the micro how their eradication was part of the cards. It was already part of it was part of their genetic makeup. I mean, there are carbon copies of us. So you can only go so far with a carbon copy before it ceases to be able to replicate, right? Also, you have to take into account again. These are just on the micro. I mean, if you can't understand the carnal, then how can you understand the spiritual, supernatural? How can you understand the bigger things if you can't? And not you personally, Jacob, but just
Jacob,
overall.
That was actually a good question.
It is.
And just to make sure you got the answer to that question, the book of Obadiah is talking about a process of time ending with their extinction. All right. Ending with their extinction, but it's still a process of time. If you're eating a bag of raisins, right, are you gonna stick all the whole bag of raisins in your mouth and swallow them at the same time? Or are you gonna eat one raisin at a time, or a couple of raisins here, a couple of raisins there, and eventually you end out with all the raisins being gone in the bag? And that's what's gonna happen with the so-called white man under the rulership of the children of Israel.
Yeah, they have they have an inherent weak gene, right? Their genes are weak and whatever. Our genes are dominant.
Yeah,
and because they have the most recessive genes on the planet. I mean, even if again, with all the race mixing and all the refugees coming in all the different countries or whatever, the European countries or whatever, whatnot, even if you allowed that to play out, it would still end
with
in their destruction and extinction.
Most High didn't make them too spiffy.
Yeah, they're not made to last forever. I mean, that's just it. They were never made to last.
Yeah,
forever.
Yeah, the Most High is wise and powerful, man. He made those Edomites, you know, with a used up level, a used up a date. You know, don't use after blah 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 blah.
Yeah, it's no good. You can't. No longer able to resell. No longer able to pull it off the shelf.
Yeah,
they like to think of themselves as superior, but if you look at again how they're made up and their the social consequences of having a weak birth rate and whatnot, and having weak genes. I mean, again, it's obvious.
They weren't meant to last forever.
Yeah, they weren't meant to last forever.
They wasn't meant to last forever. So praise be to Yah. Good question.
Again, that's just the micro.
Yeah.
And basically, while they're around, right, they're going to be our slaves.
Yeah.
In the kingdom.
Yeah.
For those of them that survive and cling on to us.
Yeah.
That's going to be their job.
Yeah.
Basically, until they're finally eradicated.
There's also going to be those that will be thrust back to the mountains. Yeah. Right, away from the kingdom, motherfuckers living in darkness in these caves and stuff, trying to stay away from the light of the sun.
The ones that they're gonna call pill faces.
Pill faces. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not everybody's gonna be. They're gonna be slaves, but not everyone's gonna work in the master's house. So
exactly.
Speak, right?
Remember,
they're still slaves, but there gonna be some that's in the master's house in Jerusalem, and in other places of the anointed, and there's gonna be other ones on the outdoor. The outside of the master's house, around the world in the caves and in the dark places.
Yeah, remember they were house niggas
and they were field
niggas. Now they're gonna be house white slaves or
Edomite slaves,
white slaves, and then they're gonna be white slaves in the mountains and whatever.
Edomite slaves other places.
Yeah, that we call peel faces.
Yeah, the Most High made the world for our sake. So the dominion of Israel is gonna be a worldwide dominion. Not just in the land of Israel. And again, we're welcoming other viewers coming on to the live podcast. Again, it was a small sense of confusion when we made a couple of podcasts simultaneously, but now we got it all fixed, and obviously the viewers gonna be chug-a-lugging on in as time goes on.
So stick with us, and thank you for
and welcome.
Thank you and welcome.
All right. Thank you again, Jacob's Troubles, for the question. Again, any other questions that anyone else has, now is the time to let us know.
Please bring them forward
so that we can go ahead and address it. Without any questions, we'll just go on to the other things that we want to talk about in regards to upcoming events. Also, realize that, again, the sign for the redemption of Israel 33 days after the upcoming sign of the 7-year Great Tribulation. And the sign again for the redemption of Israel is September 23rd of this year, right? Now we already know as the tribulation begins to increase, as it has been increased, we ourselves feel the increase of the tribulation. Right. So if we're feeling it, I mean,
you can imagine Jake on the street who ain't got no spiritual connection or nothing.
Yeah,
is gonna be feeling it too, with more police boots on their back of their necks, with more shootings. I mean, if you just look at what's going on with the protesting right now as a micro as to what and
what to expect.
Yeah, as it is expanding. I mean, the protest ain't gonna stop in this country.
No.
And then you get to a level right now where you got people getting ran over with cars
by other Americans.
If the violence increases right along with the frequency of the protests,
of the events,
then that's another trigger for martial law.
You're gonna have chaos in the streets, blood in the streets, and then ultimately martial law, with Trump being at the hell of this country going smashing down to actual hell.
Yeah,
right. And as much as these protesters don't like Trump, they're gonna have a real shock and awe when Trump is the one, at the steering wheel.
Yeah.
When martial law is called and dictatorship powers is granted onto him, and the Constitution is suspended. I mean, if he didn't give a fuck about this white bitch who got ran over by a car, what makes you think he's gonna give a damn about martial law and these military personnel raping and murdering these anti-Trump people who are gonna increase once he gets all that authoritative power?
Because remember, I mean, he's rich. What agreement is it between the rich and the poor?
Yeah,
you know, and if you look at the fact that again, he wins in martial law. He's worried that they're going to try to cheat him come the next election anyway. He barely got in this time. You think the deep state's gonna with them taking over the infrastructure for the election process is gonna let him get in again? I mean, he got internal threats as well as external threats.
And yeah, he ain't trying to put his hopes and dreams in 2020, right? You know? When they got The Rock and other fucking crazy ass future candidates
lining up.
You know, got other people who are rich, business owners. You got Oprah Winfrey all of a sudden now thinking about going. I mean, that's crazy madness. You know, that nigga wants to keep his power nice, tuckty, and try to figure out a way in which to start martial law so he can keep his power. And they may do that with North Korea. Yeah, they may do that with China. They may do it with whomever.
Well, look at the movies.
It's going to happen soon.
He's drastically empowering the police.
Yeah, more Trigolian power.
Yeah, more Trigolian, giving the police more Trigolian power, letting them know that you know he's their man.
Yeah, you know, as long as they're his,
as long as they're with him.
Yeah,
he's drastically empowering the alt-right. You know, because racist Nazi pieces of garbage. You know what I mean? They're not too bright anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but that's America.
That's America.
That's as America.
There's apple pie. There's foot soldiers. You know, and they care nothing about nothing. All they think is that at the end of the whole bloodshed, that they're somehow gonna get a little piece of the power.
They're gonna rise on top, man.
He's empowering the military, right? More funding, more military budgets, and whatever, whatnot. Because when he takes over as a dictator, these are the key groups that he wants on his side to make sure to solidify that power.
I mean, he brought in Bannon in his White House, man. Come on, man.
Yeah,
he knew what Breitbart would have to do. He knew what that publication was all about. You think?
And he hasn't released them.
Yeah, he's not an idiot, man.
He released the other guy, but he never released.
Yeah, but these snowflakes, they don't know nothing until that baton is breaking their skull
and their teeth.
Negroes have been in this country for a long time. We've been beaten. We've been abused by these supposed police, supposed officials with their dogs and so forth and so on. So we recognize, we've been knew that the face of America ain't some pretty blonde-haired, blue-eyed JC, but that the real face of America is the devil, man. And now that devil is about to spring out upon the so-called Edomites, so-called white people of the scripture, man. They're not going to be protected from the judgment that's coming, man. And you can see it, man. They're talking about the bubonic black plague of death coming back, that there were some animals that were found that had it, you know, on the fleas and whatever. Yeah, Most High's bringing back all the great ones, man.
Yeah, the old
favorites, man. This country is about to get done up in a way you ain't never even imagined, man. Most High giving dreams of thousands upon thousands of dead bodies on the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the men of God, man. Most High letting those who know these motherfuckers are not going to be able to deliver themselves from the famine, from the hunger, from the pestilence, or from the flame of nuclear destruction, man, of judgment.
That's from the sword of the soon coming anointed.
Yeah. I mean, this place is going to erupt, you know, soon come. I mean, why do you think we're talking about a countdown to the sign of great tribulation? You don't think that looking upon the world, you're not going to see tribulation springing up? I mean, come on. A white man takes a car and rams over his own white brethren. I mean, and killing a white female, and the few Negroes that were there, I mean,
they got some bumps and bruises,
but
they wasn't dead.
Yeah, they wasn't the target this time.
The snowflakes was the target.
Snowflakes was the target. See, the Negroes have been holding up the brunt of the hatred, the anger, the murderous rage of this country. We've been in the crosshair, the bullseye of these evil ass KKK and white supremacist groups. But now with these snowflake lefties who by the way, during Trump's rise to power, they was the one that were throwing the eggs and doing the violence and breaking shit and burning shit and making sure conservative speakers couldn't speak at colleges. And they didn't give a fuck about the Constitution then. They didn't care about freedom of speech then. If you was a conservative and they didn't want to hear that garbage, Christian garbage, then they ran you out of town. They ran you out of town with the quickness.
Ran you off the campus.
And now all of a sudden they getting ran over with the quickness. I mean, it's going to escalate, man. Next time it could be guns. Next time somebody can get shot. And that's happened. Yeah, that's happened. That's happened too. So this is escalating. It's not going to go back, man.
Esau versus Esau.
White versus white. Edomite versus Edomite.
Yeah. And the Negro coon somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, again, we have Negro coons chilling in the middle of these rallies. Now they're not a big number, not a large number, you know, but they're there. That car still was still skirted the buttocks of an Israelite. That's for damn sure.
They got the picture. They have the upside down picture. Priceless.
They got a picture to prove it, man. So even though our people are of a small number in the midst of these motherfuckers,
they're sure using their pictures.
The Most High is still allowing them to feel it, man. That's why it says in the scriptures, paraphrasing, of course. But even though they're holding hand by hand, the wicked will not go unpunished, man. You can't stand in the way of what's going to go down with America. You can't stand in the way with the judgment that's coming to these white motherfuckers, the Edomites of the scriptures. You can't stand in the way of that. The judgment's going to hit them through you, right? Or you just gonna be like that dude in that picture, flipped script, you know,
feet all bent out of shape
with that car running over him,
with the common face.
Yeah,
he about to hit pay dirt hard, but it was a common face.
He knew he was on the wrong. He knew he should have been in that wrong place.
He knew he's wrong.
He knew he should have been trying to sit there talking about KKK with the fucking side by side,
right side the
more white people. If those motherfuckers went all of a sudden to lynching, those
same white motherfuckers
would have been fucking all down the word. They would have been mums the word. They wouldn't have said shit.
All down for it.
That's for real. But yeah, you're gonna be standing in a car that's meant to mow them down, but you want to stand shoulder to shoulder, trying to hope that the car is gonna divert.
I mean, where was the anti-lynching mobs of white people against white people then? No, they were all left and right was all right there with the noose.
Just like the Democrats and the Republicans were all right there together when it came to sanctions on Russia. Yeah. I mean, these motherfuckers don't get along, but when it comes to bringing death and destruction upon America, all of a sudden they're getting along real nice. Now all of a sudden you see the devil coming together again. I mean, people just gotta wake up. You know,
it's the old game that you see if you were to watch like professional wrestling.
Oh yeah,
right. I mean, these guys act like they hate each other and they're secretly. After the filming's over, we're going out and having a beer, and doing it all over again the next photo shoot.
Yeah, so they just playing. They're play acting for the ignorant masses, so they believe that they're really part of two separate groups. But reality, these two separate groups being controlled as a puppet by a puppet master, which is the devil.
Well, it's made to have the illusion of choice.
Yeah.
And the illusion of freedom, and democracy.
Yeah, but what does that doesn't mean nothing when it comes to the solar eclipse. No. The Most High is throwing the light switch on these roaches. The Most High is showing us through His signs in the heavens, right? The solar eclipse, the ancestral signs on 9/23, and the solar eclipse on that's coming actually. And in 5 days. I mean, it's not so much just saying 8/21 anymore. It's actually literally 5 days away. Now, again, we don't know what's going to happen, but it can't be good. I mean, looking at in America, it's already getting bad.
All the microcosms are getting huge.
Yeah, they're going bigger. It's already getting violent. It's already breaking out in the blood in the streets. I mean, if this is only 5 days before the Great Tribulation, can you even imagine what that's going to look like? Right? And it's going to be amazing. You know, that's the reason why, as children of the Most High, again, if you got something in your life, man, if you're struggling with a relationship with one of these heathens, if you're struggling with alcoholism or drugs, and weed is a drug, man. So we talking about weed is pure and some bullshit. It alters the way you think. It gives you a false reality that's not of the Most High, man. Right? You want to cleanse yourself from those things so that you can come back to the Most High in spirit and in truth. Right? It impairs your reasoning and impairs your thoughts, man. How are you gonna be doing everything you can to stand when the Most High comes? Drugged out on some weed, where
high? You high?
Yeah, niggas are dying in front of you, and you're still having a good day. I mean, come on.
You talking about serving Most High, and you're high?
Yeah, you know.
You
touch that shit one more time, and
I'll blow
holes in you, boy. That comes from the movie Doom, obviously. But anyways, you know, I mean, you got to be sober in mind and spirit. You know, you got to come back to the Most High in spirit and truth, man. You got to start doing this work, man. Right? Do much time left for the Most High, man, because time's running out, man.
You have something to say, man.
Yeah.
You have something to stand
on. Sacrifice with the sins in your life, right? Sacrifice those sins to the Lord. Do something, man. Say something. Do something. I mean, come on, man. You know?
That's real.
Again, it's hard, man. We've gone through it ourselves, man. We're just telling you what we've gone through. We're not just arbitrarily talking to you, you know, about precepts that no one's ever gone through. You know, the Most High is utilizing Lampshades ministry to let our brethren know that now is the time, man. Before that door of grace and mercy closes, now is the time to do what you need to do for the Lord. Put your faith in Yahshua HaMashiach. Yes, we know that it's not by works does any man should boast.
Yeah.
Right?
But faith without works is dead.
Yeah, but faith without works is dead. So people got to realize, man, the scripture is not just one scripture. You got to look at the totality of the scripture. That's why the Most High says,
here a little,
there a little,
precept upon
precept, study to show yourself approved. You need to build upon the house of the Lord within you with the scriptures, man. Brick by brick, man. Scripture by scripture,
line by line.
Yeah, that's building the house of the Lord within you, so the Lord may dwell therein. And He says He's gonna dwell in His people. Praise be to Yah.
Praise be to Yah.
So that means you gotta do your study, man. You gotta come at this truth, especially if you late and you behind. You just came on this truth yesterday, motherfucker. You
gotta get to work.
You need to get to work, man. Quick. You know, you need to start tackling those demons in your life. You need to start filling your mind with the scriptures. You need to start doing the work, you know, so that your life will be worth something to the Most High. I mean, Most High loves Israel. Don't get it twisted, right? But you can't be living your life, but you never have done anything for the Lord and think the Lord's going to come back talking about you as number one. I mean, come on, man.
You know,
that makes no sense whatsoever. Welcome to the extra viewers coming on.
Welcome everyone.
It's nice to see that you guys found the actual live podcast. Yeah, it was a little difficult. Yeah, we made a couple of mistakes, but it's on. And,
forgive us.
You know, and we're working it. All right. So welcome again to the live podcast. If you have questions, please
hit them up in the comments.
Hit them up quick because we have no idea how long
the podcast will go. Usually an hour, but it may go longer.
It may go a little further.
We'll see what kind of questions and what the participation rate is.
We'll see what the Most High wants us to do. Again, we're just servants of the Most High, man.
Yeah,
the Most High has us out here for the children of Israel. If you notice, there's not 100 people listening to this podcast. There's not 1,000 people listening to this podcast. There's not even 10 people listening to this podcast, right? But y'all willing, when the great tribulation jumps off, when niggas are running for their lives, all of a sudden, if this is even available, because believe you me, man, if the Most High is having us doing something else, man, you guys had your opportunity. Those who didn't come onto this podcast.
That's right.
You know, we've been doing this podcast every day. Y'all willing, you know, to the best of our abilities for the Lord, man.
That's right.
You guys need to take the opportunity that the Lord has given to ask your questions, to listen to what's to come, because you're not gonna get this in other camps, man. Ain't no one talking about the 7-year tribulation being the solar eclipse. Ain't no one talking about the redemption of Israel being the sign for it on 9/23. Ain't no one talking about that. The Most High is giving it to us, and so this is where it is available to receive. Now, Jacob's Trouble, another a comment or question from him. It looks like it's a question. He says, "Can we go over Galatians 4:24? A lot of people jump on this verse to debunk the Bible. Can we clear this up for those who wants basically clarification?" Yeah, we can. We can. Praise be the Most High. Let's go ahead
and get there.
and get it.
It says
Galatians
there,
4:24.
and again, really do appreciate the questions. Praise be Yah. This is the forum for it. This is the opportunity for it. Make sure that you get your questions answered, and make sure you get them answered from the men of God. That's our function. That's the men of God's function. That and bringing about or working to bring about the reconciliation of the 12 tribes of Israel to the Most High. But this is we're looking at Galatians, that chapter 4, verse 24. Is that?
Yeah, Galatians chapter 4, verse 24.
All right, so we're getting that right now. But again, one of the great things about these podcasts, about this live, is we're dealing with. It's not about camp, right? It's about the Israelites getting together and having an opportunity to talk and prepare and ask questions and fellowship and whatnot. So, of course, it was only a matter of time before people began ask questions about policy and things in the scriptures and what people say and what people utilize or try to utilize to try to debunk the Bible, which I think is actual oxymoron, right? I mean, how can you try to use the Bible to debunk the Bible when the Bible actually supports itself? That's the reason why when it comes to definitions, you have to look at Bible definitions for its own words. You can't use Webster's dictionary to define, like, say, leprosy or something when the Bible is very clear what it is and the various different things that it is.
Okay,
as an example.
I'm gonna reread your question really quickly, just for those who's come on board. Jacob's trouble. It says here, can we go over Galatians 4:24? A lot of people jump on this verse to debunk the Bible. Can we clear this up for those who need clarification? All right. Yes, we can. Y'all willing, and yes, we will. Let's go ahead and read Galatians 4:24 for the audience. If you have a Bible, please follow through. It says, which things are an allegory? For these are the two covenants, the one from the Mount Sinai, which gendereth to bondage, which is Agor. Okay, I'm gonna read one up over just for clarification better. But he who was of the bondwoman was born after the flesh, but he of the free woman was born was by promise. Okay. Now, the two covenants he's referring to, first the covenant that the Most High made on Mount Abraham. I'm gonna go right. Yeah. Abraham had a covenant of circumcision, right? Moses had a covenant that he made on Mount Sinai with Most High with the Ten Commandments, the laws, the statutes and commandments that he gave to Moses on those little tablets that he showed to the people, and they agreed to take the covenant of the commandments, right? But check it. If you go to Jeremiah chapter 31, I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel, not with the world, but with the house of Israel, and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, by which my covenant they broke, although I was a husband unto them, saith the Lord. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. This is soon coming when he redeems us. After those days, after what? After the great tribulation, after Jacob's trouble, saith the Lord, I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people, and they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them. So it's not talking about all people on the earth, it's still talking about Israel, unto the greatest of them, saith the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. So basically, with the laws of Moses, he had the Ten Commandments, he had the written tablets and stones, but in the new covenant, he's putting all this whole book into our actual literal hearts, our spirits, our soul. And we're not going to have to teach each other about the law, statutes, and commandments no more, because Most High is going to put it in our spirit. So what's talking about over here doesn't break down the Bible, doesn't end the Bible. Praise be to Yah. We was a bondwoman or bond to the law, statutes, and commandments of Moses with Moses on Mount Sinai, because the laws was external. They were the law was on books and tablets and so forth and so on. It didn't dwell within us. So dealing with laws that was external, people messed up. People wasn't perfect in those laws, right? But now that the Most High is coming back through again, He's going to make those laws, statutes, and commandments internal. So it's going to be a part of us, a part of our very soul, a part of our hearts, a part of our minds. Therefore, we'll be more perfect in doing His will and living by His law, statutes, and commandments. So this is only letting us know that the external laws, right, was the bond person to it, because it wasn't really a part of us. It was external. We were striving to do something from without. Where in the new covenant, it's going to be within. It's not going to be a bond person. It's going to be us. It's going to be a part of us. It's going to be a part of your very spirit, your very soul. No one's talking about their skin is a bond servant. No one's talking about their eyeballs are a bond servant. No one's talking about their feet are a bond servant. Why? Because that's all a part of you. It's natural, right? So the first covenant was an external covenant that we had to learn, study, read. We had to fulfill the covenant, and it didn't leave for mistakes, right? If you broke the covenant, you could lose your life back in the day. Okay, so with the new covenant, it's an internal covenant, because He's going to put the law, statutes, and commandments of that new covenant in our inward parts. So basically, He's making it a part of our nature. He's making it a part of ourselves. Period.
Okay. Also, just to add to what Priest Most High Lambew was talking about. Also note that he was saying that it's an allegory. He wasn't saying it's literal. Okay, there's certain things you have to extrapolate from it as well. He was referring to the fact that there was a bondman child, which was Ishmael. Okay, and then there was Isaac, the child that had the promise. Both of these were children of Abraham. They were both Hebrews, so to speak, because Abraham was Hebrew. And this is a very good point, actually, because because it was in the family of Hebrews, but yet the Most High chose one over the other. You see, are we not called the children of slaves? Right? Are we not? Isn't our God not called the God of the slaves? Right? And that is similar when it comes to the Black America, which is of the birth of Israel, which is of the birth of Judah, and yet the Israelites that's come back to the Most High in truth, in sincerity, come back to the heritage that we have with the Most High. So that the allegory fits the same. All right, and it's not talking about those who believe in terms of Gentiles and in terms of heathens. It's talking about the differences amongst Israel between each other. That's the reason why the scriptures also say that the flesh profit you nothing. It's not saying that it doesn't matter if you're of the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's saying that compared to another Israelite, both of the seed, the one who has faith and has come back to the Most High in spirit and in truth, who has a circumcised heart, that is the one that ultimately gets the promise, not the one who is still of Israelite descentry, right? Of the blood, right? But without that component, they're not children of the promise. Likewise, in the allegory that they gave, both of them were Hebrews, sons of Abraham, but one was the keeper of the promise, and the other one, right, just had the flesh, and otherwise it wasn't, right? So they're trying to make the Bible fight the Bible, but it's not. Of course, they have no understanding. It's just like when they try to say that there is no Jew or Gentile, while of course missing the point that he was talking to Israelites, and he was basically saying that those Israelites who follow the traditions are still Jews, are still Israelites, right? And those that don't, because they're in captivity and they're spread across the land or whatever, whatnot, and they're being raised by Gentiles and whatever, whatnot, and they don't have they don't have an understanding of the laws and the statutes and the different traditions. They're Israelites too, because the Most High was basically saying, hey, they're all His inheritance. Those who are in the captivity and those who are not in captivity, right? But it was about Israelites and the differentiation from one Israelite to another Israelite. It was apples and apples. It wasn't apples and oranges, say Israelites versus or in comparison to Gentiles and heathens. You know, and again, as an allegory, the allegory goes as far as Israel with Israel. In this sense, Black America, in comparison to the Judites, right? The Jews of Scripture here in America. So Black America, in contrast to this Israelite awakening, right? And how the differences between the two of them, right? We know that the rebels, they won't enter into the kingdom of heaven. They won't enter into the kingdom when the kingdom comes. Just like when we our ancestors left out of
the
Egypt,
land of milk and honey.
The land of milk and honey. Just like when our ancestors left out of Egypt the first time, right? 2 of the people of that generation actually entered in, and then the rest were the children of that generation, right? So even though both of them were, I mean, all of them were there, they're Israelites. They seen the 10 plagues of Egypt that happened, that occurred. Even though they all seen that, only 2 of that generation, and then the children, actually entered in. So for all those who seen the 10 plagues of Egypt and yet didn't enter in because they died in the 40-year in the desert, right? You know, they ultimately died as slaves, having the same slave mentality to the Egyptian gods, to the Egyptian way of thinking and whatever or not, to that old man, right? And only the 2 of that generation and their children actually became free and entered into the land of milk and honey as Israelites, with the God of Israel leading the way. You see? And that's what he was basically saying. Don't be the ones that ultimately are not going to enter in because they're ultimately going to be rejected. Don't think that just because you're an Israelite, you ain't got to sacrifice. Just because you're an Israelite, you ain't got to go out to those street corners and put your blood on the eyes, figuratively speaking. You know, just because you're an Israelite, just because you've seen that the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade or the Israelite scripture, just because of that and that alone, you don't have to change anything in your life. The Most High is just going to go ahead and grab you up, swoop you up, and all the promises are just going to fall in your lap. That's what he's saying. Don't think that, because those who think that and walk in that way, they're walking in error. Because those people are the slaves of this nation, right? And you don't want to be a slave in the kingdom, no, do you? And the way to be free in the kingdom, right, is to have a circumcised heart and to turn to the Most High in truth and sincerity, and to be the children, to stand up as the children of the promise. Because when the Most High comes, you know, he ain't coming, you know, for slaves, right? He ain't coming for slaves. Yeah, we're the children of slaves, and yes, he's the God of the slaves, but he's coming to set us free. He's coming for soon to be freed men. We're not leaving out of here as slaves. That's why he says to the other nations, that's why it's written that the other nations are going to cling to our toe jam. You ain't going to cling to the toe jam to the foot of a slave, right? He says the anointed, they're going to wrap themselves basically in the Gentiles. Ain't no Gentile going to wrap himself around a slave.
also again, because this is not just one a verse. There's several verses actually that's talking about this. So there's to go deeper to the question. It's also referring to the Mosaic laws of Moses versus the faith in Yahshua HaMashiach.
Exactly.
All right. Again, we're gonna go deep with you. I mean, I'm not sure if you do all this.
It's a great question.
It's a great question.
And it opens up for a whole lot of stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and expound on that while we got you and while we're on the subject.
And it's high ranging fruit, but it's also talking about those who put their faith in the law, statutes, and commandments, and not in the work that was done with Yahshua HaMashiach dying on that tree for Israel. Okay, those who are maybe those Torahite people who don't even believe in Yahshua or the New Testament, who think they can get their own righteousness by abide by the law, statutes, and commandments of the Bible exclusively, right? Well, they're letting you know that they're trying to be slaves to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Bible versus having the promise versus being free when it comes to having faith in Yahshua HaMashiach. Yeah, as if you could either have one or the other. Now, of course, with Lambew's ministry, our position is, in regards to this titable, of course, that we have to have faith in Yahshua HaMashiach, that he died on that tree to recoup Israel onto the Father as an act of reconciliation between Israel and the Father. However, and inclusively, we abide by the law, statutes, and commandments in order as an act of love and obedience unto the Most High through his only begotten Son.
And to exercise those things in our life.
To exercise it. I mean,
that's the faith and the works.
And the works. Is that way you're not just saying it, you're actually doing it. So our faith is in Yahshua HaMashiach, and our works is in doing the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of our ability.
Exactly.
Right? So that's what it's talking about here as well. It's talking about whether you're going to go onto the law, like some of our Israelites are talking about right now, with those Toranites and so forth. And again, I don't like using people's names, but they're so famously known.
Well, Toranites is one group that's called that. One group. We're really talking about old school Pharisees and Sadducees.
You know,
that's really what we're talking about. People who were, who
all about the law,
focused so much on the law, and yet the Messiah came around and called them hypocrites,
and they didn't even know he was the Messiah.
Yeah, but they called them hypocrites because they used the law as a bludgeon tool for everybody else, where they themselves didn't even hearken onto it.
Yeah. So our position here at Lambew's ministry is you have to have your faith in Yahshua HaMashiach for what he died on that tree, because again, it's not by works but by the elect.
Yeah.
So we put our faith in him because he's the one who satisfied the law since he was born all the way to the day he died. All right. One thing about the law is if you break a least of the law, you've broken them all. And once you break the law, there's nothing to get you back in favor of the law. So once you broke
the law doesn't justify you.
It condemns.
The law condemns. That's what the law is for. Yeah. Okay, you broke item A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, blah, 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 blah. That's what it's for. It's to bring your crimes to account that you may see them.
Yeah.
But they're
and pay the penalty.
And pay the penalty. There's no salvation in that. Right? So that's what the law for. And people putting their faith in the law exclusively
without Yahshua
will be condemned by the law because that's not what the law is made for.
Yeah, remember, Yahshua helps reconciliation, where the law goes into basically the damnation of those who broke the law. So you need both.
And just to wrap it
up, most importantly, obviously, with Yahshua.
Yeah. It also goes into when they were saying, when it was written about how, the law is like a school teacher, and how all of us, the Israelites that are coming, that have been in this 400-year curse here in Babylon, we're up underneath the law
teacher,
the school teacher. But how Yeshua basically is the way in order to graduate. You don't always you can't always
you graduate when the Most High puts the law, statutes, and commandments in your inward parts.
In your inward parts, in your heart. So if you're just in the school, doing just following after the school teacher all day, you're there's no growth. Where you have the Most High wants you to mature, not just be on milk all day, but actually take the meat and actually be able to mature and become teachers, not just a perpetual student forever, right? And the Most High's Son Yeshua kind of emulates that or shows that in how the time that he was preaching in the synagogue or talking to the synagogue, and then they gave him a scroll, and the scroll had some a story about some stuff on it, and then he took the scroll and he said it, and he said, "Today this right here has been fulfilled." And then he just went out and started teaching,
started living.
Man. So you look at the scriptures, you find, okay, we're the Israelites of Scripture. It's been fulfilled.
Yeah,
the 400 years, us
it's
coming into this
fulfillment.
truth, it's coming to fulfillment. It's not time now to be just sitting there, in a perpetual state of study, even though study is good. It's time to go out there and actually do the work and actually begin to walk the walk. And there's a difference.
That's why it says faith without works is dead, because having faith is good, but now it's time to do what your faith would say you were to do. So Yaku's Trouble says, thank you. I understand better now. Praise be to God. That's what we're here for. Praise be to God.
Most definitely.
Again, thank you for watching. We're gonna go ahead and
end on that note.
End on that note. Thank you for watching and sit in with the Lampshades. I'm your host, Priest of the Most High, Sakuma Zingami Lambew.
And I'm your host, Priest of the Most High, Lucifer D. Lambew. It's been really fun and good sitting there talking with you guys. And
thank you, Yaku's Trouble, for those.
And again, thank you for
very
the
interesting, powerful questions.
Thank you.
It was a very good job, and we appreciate you bringing it to the forum. Again, we'll hopefully see you next time. At 8 p.m. podcast,
8 p.m.
daily podcast,
and I would count down to this great American tribulation,
the great sign of the 7-year tribulation soon coming. And actually, it's 5 days away.
5 days away.
So we'll see you tomorrow.
See you again next time.
Shalom.
All right.